Exotic sparrow.
Hey everybody, it's Exodus here. This footage is from Destiny, and it is from the new raid Crota's End that you get from the Dark Below expansion that released on December 9th. And this is just the normal mode. It's on the eve of the hard mode, as you can see from the title. By the time this releases, hard mode will have been released, and it has been finished actually, as I have noticed since recording. We wanted to go through it a few times the night prior. Against my better judgment, I wanted to wait to get the double drops and stuff like that for better odds at hard only drops. But a lot of these guys wanted to get the practice. We never ran it as a full group before because just our schedules have conflicted. We have, you know, most of us are scattered around to different, and as well as have different work schedules and so on and so forth, so we just never really matched up to do it. I mostly do it with people from you know, the Destiny LFG sites, or just with a couple of my friends that are in this current raid as well, and then, you know, find other people to fill in. Roscoe goes over to check for the first chest. There's a lot of times you can get it there and then everybody will go get it and bounce. But if not, you know, we just decided since it wasn't there, we're just going to go through and run it. We did, 3 of us, Strohs, Buddha, and I did the Nightfalls and Weeklies together already. And the nights, we just wanted to get the raids done as fast as possible since we were going to run through it 3 times. And this was the first run, as mentioned prior. So we go through, and I just wanted to check and make sure that this jump strat thing wasn't working right, because they were mentioning earlier that something about it, you know, going through and doing it, but we just like to go through normal without doing the shortcuts because, I don't know, it's just funner, it's more intense, more of a challenge. So I was making sure it didn't work because people were saying it did, and of course on Hunter it's hard to do anyway, so it didn't look like I got a strong enough jump, didn't work, so we just continued going through normal. So I just want to talk about talk about hard mode a little bit. From what I've seen thus far, there isn't any significant difference until you get to Crota. It seems like this part's virtually the same, with the exception of some of the enemies being different forms of Thrall, and of course level 33. And I think the same is said to be said on the rest of the parts, the bridge part, the second chest, you know, Indiana Jones type run part with the Thrall and the Shriekers. And then the Death Singer, I think everything's virtually the same, with the exception of a couple different enemies, and everything, of course, being level 33 instead. So everything up until Crota should be identical as far as strategy-wise, and should be easily completed in regards to, you know, just execution until you get to Crota. I don't want to spoil anything as far as Crota is concerned, because again, that's the most significant change this raid sees, going from normal to hard mode. So I'll just let y'all do your own research or just encounter it for yourself if you do happen to you know, go through and get to it after you view this video. So as you can see, Fatebringer is a strong weapon in this part of the raid because, you know, you kill one thing with a critical headshot and it explodes everything around it essentially. And so everyone using Fatebringers, even just one person with the Thralls stacking up, can clear a lot of enemies in very little time. So it's my weapon of choice. Again, I'm on my Hunter on this particular run, so I wanted to use my AE grenade as well, the one that explodes, you know, solar damage, and then leaves a lasting effect of fire on the enemies that it hits. As you can see, it took out quite a few enemies there, and the Fatebringers just, you know, shred. So going from lamp to lamp, we like to stay together, you know, leave no man behind or whatever. That way, you know, everybody can focus fire, or, you know, if people are lagging behind a little bit, everybody can turn around and shoot, and then we wait till we get to at least ×4 darkness, way to darkness. As you can see, I'm getting down to like none, and then we move. You don't have to wait till 0. Obviously, 4 is more than enough to get from point to point. And it seems like this run we were stopping quite often. Normally, I'd like to go, you know, skip one and keep going until, you know, you, like I said, weight's down to 4. and that way you don't let the thrall stack up enough. But we had enough good coordination to kill fast and not get far behind on the mob count. It's as you can see here, Stroh's died from a random cursed thrall, and he didn't slow us up at all because we only left one behind to revive him, even though you don't technically need to revive. We just did it as we were getting close to the end of the part here. This part of the raid has gotten significantly easier over time. At first, I didn't like it because it just seemed, oh, you're running. It's basically a game of keep away, you know, avoid the enemies, and there wasn't any shooting aspect to it. But it's kind of grown on me, and of course it's gotten easier. You know, the coordination was a huge factor in their teamwork, and then just knowing when you yourself should stop and shoot or what you should use to help destroy the thrall. As you can see there, like I said, one Fatebringer crit just took out like friggin' 15 dudes. So here we like to keep people on the center structure, but some people on the rock just in case. And thing explodes, kills Buddha there. He went a little prematurely. Roscoe couldn't, you know, was having trouble with the jump. I got the jump. Want to load the heavy ammo to take out the ogres, and as you can see here, ogres start dominating, and Roscoe eats all the fire for me essentially, and took out that first ogre. After this, it's just a waiting game. For those of you who aren't experienced with the raid, and maybe are seeing this for the first time or don't even own Destiny, this part of the raid is very, very unique compared to the rest of the game. This is the only mission, as you can classify that as missions because it says new mission once you complete each part in this raid. It's the only one where you're essentially running a lot of the time. It reminds me of a platformer type deal where you're running, trying to get to a certain point, you know, like a Crash Bandicoot getting chased by a rock, you know, or a Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, getting chased by something. You gotta make it to the end and then kind of hold your ground a little bit, and then boom, you get reward. So that's what this part of the raid is. It seems like they segmented a platformish type deal into the raid here, and you just run to the light and you get it done. As I said before, I didn't really like it when I first did it, when it first came out, because it just seemed, oh, a marathon and a shooter, this is stupid. Like, just give me a gun, give me some enemies, give me some other objectives, and let me dominate. You know, I don't want to be running, you know, like tail between my legs, you know, scared type of garbage. But, you know, it grew on me. It's fun just because, like I said, it is unique compared to the rest of the game. You don't see anything else like it. Now this next part is the bridge part. It's a little more exciting. Again, it's more puzzle-ish, kind of like reminiscent of Vault of Glass, you know, aspects. Whereas,
I'll be on this side,
you know, the rest of this raid, it seems like everything is like a timed trial. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Vault of Glass, there's other videos out there you can check out, and you can see what I'm talking about in essence of more of a puzzle-ish type deal to figure things out. So on this part of the raid, there's these totem things, or, you know, spires, whatever you want to call them. And each side has to have someone on it, and someone, if you're standing on that center thing. You want to stand on that center thing to activate the bridge, because you have to build a bridge in order to get across to the other side. And the only person that can cross the bridge is the person holding the sword. So what happens is you activate it, all these thralls come out, and you have to have people on the spires or totems, or else everyone, you know, they activate and they wipe the area, you know, they kill everything. So Sword Bear comes out, as you can see there, and you have to kill him in order for the sword to drop, and only one person can grab and go across once the bridge is fully formed. And what we did on this particular run was we sent the lower levels across first, because the enemies over there are not as intense in the beginning stages as they are on this side, and by the time you get to the last people to cross, there's quite a few enemies to deal with over here by yourself, and so you want the people who are able to survive, you know, easier on their own, just stay across, you know, stay on this side until the end. So what happens is, again, on the other side, there's an identical setup with 2 spires or totems and then a center pad to open the bridge. So that way when you get 3 people across the other side, they can open it from their side and allow the people on this side to roam and take cover better, and just to, you know, get on top of the sword bearer quicker and easier, because he likes to hide sometimes. And so you don't want to have to limit yourself by staying on the spires or the center platform on this side, just in case he is being difficult. One of the other aspects of this, and now since they patched it a couple times, is you can no longer cross the bridge until it is fully formed, and if it does start deconstructing while you're on it, most times I've seen you will die. You can still jump up and, you know, glide over or blade dance over. And blade dancing, for those who aren't familiar, essentially is a term used from the hunter class, where when they get their super, they can, you know, they jump and they're in the air and they melee, and they're pretty much floating, dancing across the air. Well, anyone who has the sword, or relic as it is called when you pick it up, can do that same ability and just melee through the air, and you're essentially gliding while meleeing across the air, in terms blade dancing. So you can jump and blade dance across if the bridge is deconstructing, but if you're in contact with the bridge when it's deconstructing now, from what I've seen, it seems you are automatically dead, because it has to be fully formed and you have to have the sword. I think is what it seems like the new changes are. Before, it didn't, you know, completely matter. You know, in that aspect, you could kind of get across a little easier. But they wanted to patch it to make things a little more difficult, which in my opinion was a good move. So as you see as well, another reason why you want to send the lower levels first is because the enemies do progress not only in volume, but the types of enemies on this side. So cursed thralls, now you have knights, more knights coming out, more acolytes. So it's just easier for the higher levels to stay on this side in normal mode. Of course, hard mode, when everything's essentially difficult, it's going to be harder to segregate the people by level, because both sides, I'm sure, are going to be hard, as everything is going to be level 33, and it's just going to be more so on who your, you know, who your better players are in regards to who you send and who you do not send, and who works the best together and who doesn't. So here I go pick up the sword since they're holding the bridge open, and it's my turn to go across. As you can see, you know, we had a couple, we had one level 30, 2 level 31s, and the rest of us were 32. So we sent the 30 and 31s across first. I come across as the first 32, just to help them out, because the intensity of this portion of the raid, this side, will pick up in comparison to what it was before, you know, I came across. So normally I like to stay back on the other side till around the end, just because I like to revive everybody else who's over there, and I am the primary slayer within the team that we normally run with. And even with other people, it seems like I'm at the top of the list as far as slaying goes and kill count. Roscoe is by himself over there, so I turn to look and help him, because he's having the majority of the volume of mobs pursue him. And so I wanted to help him, because if he died, then one of the people on the right would have had to go all the way to the left, or I would have had to go to the left, and then they would have to take over center. And this was our first run again, and first run together, so sometimes people get a little on edge and get a little sketchy. So for me to help out as much as I can without any rotations or call-outs for other people to change is ideal. Some of these people, Roscoe and Mugro, unfortunately aren't used to doing these full parts because they just don't have the play time. And when they did do the stuff, before, they did the cheese methods and all that garbage. So this is for them, as you'll hear later, some of the stuff they just hadn't done before. And so it was unfortunate, but it was good that they got to do it before the hard raid came out, just so they could see how it's done. Because again, I'm not anticipating much change in between the normal and hard raid, except for the Crota encounter. So this part, at this point, we got 5 people across. We're waiting on the last person. You don't necessarily have to get all 6 people across, but you know, we wanted to do it, and it's just easier to do it that way, best to do it that way, so we did it that way. And Zach Knight was the last one to be able to get to the sword guy, or the last one to wait to come across. So we're just on slay duty on this side. So we're slaying away. He's waiting for the sword bearer to come out, and once he does, he will make his way across. So again, there's a lot of just waiting games on this part of the raid where you just get people across, you wait on the sword bearer, you kill the sword bearer, you send another person across, and then you're just constantly killing until essentially everyone's across. And then it's a waiting game for you know, a particular set of mobs to spawn, and once they do, then you can finish. So right there, Zach finally kills the sword bearer, picks up the sword, and he's making his way across. You know, people are getting a little sketchy, a little tense here just because it's taking a little bit, but that's just the nature of the beast, as they say. This part of the raid again is just attrition, pretty much. But out come the knights, out come the wizards, and this is the indication that the end of this portion is near. And we just have to kind of wait for the ogres to come out, which are the indicators that it is coming to the end, because once you kill the 2 ogres, one on the right and one on the left, this particular mission of the raid is done. As you can see here, it finally made its way out, launching some galleys in them. Down he goes, and we are done. There's the rewards. A couple people got some armor pieces. I just got shards. And now we're setting up for the next part of the raid. This next part of the raid kind of mixes the first portion of the raid with, like I said before, an Indiana Jones type sequence where you go through here, you send people running, and then there's shriekers that have a, once you kill them, it unlocks the next portion, because there's a, you know, as you can see, a barrier up. Kill the 2, both barriers drop, and then there's a hole. Well, behind the hole is a door that closes, and it's timed, and if you don't get through it, you miss out on the second chest of the raid, which can give you more radiant materials. As you can see, I made it, and I believe, yep, 3 other people made it, 4 of us made it, which is not usually likely. Usually it's 1 to 2. This time we got 4, so it's pretty sweet. And you open the chest. Once the chest is open, the door will open, and the rest of people can come through and pick it up. And then after that, you drop down and begin the next portion of the raid. The next portion of the raid is Ir Yût. I believe that's correct pronunciation. It may not be. I don't know. Either way, that's what I'm going with. The Death Singer. And so you come out. You have, you know, those knights down there. You don't even need to worry about killing them. Just run past them. And you have to lure out 2 wizards. And then once you kill them, you kill the shriekers that you see. There's a shrieker sitting there. So you run up, you lure them out, and then you just bounce. So what we like to do is we have, you know, 2 people luring, each side, 1 person on each side luring out, then people in the tower, and then people in the back middle. So that way they're safe from any fire that's being thrown their way and being thrown out, and then they get easy lines of sight on the wizards as they come out. So as you can see, this wizard is being a little troublesome. Didn't come out quite quick for us, and there she finally comes out, so we get shots on. I know knights focusing on them, and then theirs was down on the left. Finally got ours down on the right. Now what we like to do is we like to take out the right side shrieker and then the left side shrieker. You don't have to do that. You can get both down whenever, or the left first and the right first. But after that, the easiest side to penetrate that little fortress is on that left side that we're all crashing to right now. I jump. Yeah, you gotta wait for the purple mist stuff to come out normally, or else you can get dominated, because the shriekers do expunge seeking missile type deals that do a lot of damage. So we start moving in here, and if you have Titans in their defender, they're on their defender class. It's easy to run up if you have your super and jump up on the 2 big doors inside of her room and pop a bubble on one of the sides. That way you can peek out and shoot easy, as well as have, you know, stagnant cover so that you won't take damage. Here I kind of hang back and watch their flank. A lot of times I rush in and just dominate, because I don't like to, you know, be passive. I like to be aggressive in shooting games. And so I've kind of sit up and go in. This time I didn't go all the way into a room. They said that they had it pretty much locked down, which they did. So I fell out. I was just taking some melee damage. We got her dead. And now it's just, again, kind of like the second part. It's just a war of attrition. You gotta clear out the rest of these monsters until it triggers the next portion of the raid. And once that happens, you know, you get loot from this part. And I believe if you can only get loot from it once per week. I don't think this loot will stack because it's treated as a chest, an exotic chest, rather than, you know, just an actual normal loot drop spot. So to get it in normal mode for this week isn't that big of a deal, this part. The rest of the parts, again, as I stated at the beginning of the video, I would have liked to wait to see double drops just for better chances of getting some of the new primary weapons that the hard mode allows you to obtain. But we had fun. Again, this part, to me, I don't know if it's necessary. You know, I think once she dies, it should kind of automatically move on almost instantly rather than sit around and just kill the rest of these because they're needless. I mean, again, there's not much point to just sit here and kill, So why they did it that way, I don't know. But it does help keep your teamwork sharp, keep your teamwork fresh, I guess, and communication up. But as you can see there, we get our items. And a lot of times now you'll see exotics drop at that portion. So that's always good. At this point in the game, for many of us, there's not really any exotics that we need anymore. So, you know, it is what it is. So now again, we got the checkpoint. A lot of people tend to wipe so they can just start Crota right away. We decided, whatever, we'll just kill stuff because, you know, we wanted to go through no wipes at all. And it was cool because we actually did get to this part without, you know, any fails. As I mentioned before, Mugro and Roscoe, I know Roscoe for sure had never done this part legit, or I don't even think he worried about doing it at all because, you know, you can always just get checkpoints from people who are at Crota, who are at a higher stage of the game. And the reason I believe they did that, or more specifically him, why he did that is because it wasn't until recently that you even got loot drops from that part. And that part was considered initially one of the harder parts, you know, until it got figured out and strats got utilized to, you know, Slayer pretty efficiently. It just didn't give you any rewards, so people just didn't want to bother doing it. And nowadays, it's easily soloable. I mean, I've soloed it countless times in one try. I know many other people on YouTube and Twitch, you'll see doing solo runs, and that part doesn't really provide much difficulty anymore. So, again, we got to Crota. Everybody was experiencing Crota. I think everyone did it legit at least once. I know I've always did it legit for my rewards. Sometimes that would help out a couple people, you know, cheese it just because they, you know, didn't have the playtime that week to do a full-on run. But in my opinion, doing it legit is just as quick, if not quicker, than doing the cheese crap on Crota. Now, doing the whole raid, you know, doing some of the cheese stuff at the beginning to do the entire raid was obviously quicker than doing the whole raid legit, but still, it was just, I didn't really get involved with that stuff. I don't really like to do that kind of garbage. I've never been one to cheat at video games, let alone anything in life. Just the way I was raised, I guess, it just, you know, makes it feel dirty. But, so we come out, you know, we usually send have 3 look to the right, 3 look to the left to clear out that initial hallway. And obviously the sword runner goes out and get the chalice. In hard mode, I'm assuming there won't be a chalice because they made mention of there being less ways to heal yourself and your teammates. So that's one thing to keep an eye out for when you do hard mode, is probably no chalice, so you'll want everybody to stick to the tops when you start out, whereas here you send 1 down to get the chalice and then focus on sword. So here we had 2 people designated to boomer duty, and then 3 people doing, you know, damage to Crota to down them, and then the sword bear obviously going up and doing work. it looked like Roscoe was lagging behind, and now he came, and his extra rocket is just overkill because 232, two level 32 people that have max galleys can down them themselves. And there we go. We get the first 2 sword hits in. I like to sit down on the bottom of the stairs. I don't know if this is going to be a viable strat on hard mode, but on normal mode I like to sit down the stairs. One, it provides me easy ways to get kills, to build up my super, and easier, quicker access to ammo if it does drop. Like there I got heavy ammo, and which hardly ever drops for me. But it also provides cover from the up top boomers. You will not get shot from above you. And when the thralls come out on that left side, they generally don't even come towards you because they don't see you. If they don't see you, they'll go towards the middle rather than come up to you. And the people that do lure them from the steps, it's easy enough for them to shoot them before they get to you as well. So this is a spot I like to utilize. Obviously, you can't stack people there. You can only have 1, maybe 2 or 3, and it's hard to stack people because, you know, when you're using rockets, you don't want to shoot your teammate in the back and kill yourself. Now, on normal mode, it's not as big of a deal, but, you know, shooting the oversoul does take time, and it is a pain in the butt. But on hard mode, you know, you're dead, you're dead. So if you yourself want to utilize that strat, I would suggest doing so, but don't stack people down there. And if you do, make sure you're coordinating with each other so you don't block each other's shots, etc. And there you go, Big Zach Knight. He's he's prominently known for getting a little greedy on his swords, and which he's gonna have to correct come hard mode because you cannot afford to die in hard mode. And so he died on that one instead of us getting the kill into those swords. We had to go down bottom middle, which is what we like to utilize so we can funnel in the ogres and get them shot and dead a little easier. So we're just now waiting on them to spawn in. I hope, which I have heard, they address this whole bottom mid thing, and for the hard raid, just to, you know, kind of make things a little more chaotic. We're kind of waiting here. I know typically some people like to wait after this part, after the ogres are dead, to just wait for Crota to rotate back to the middle and then go up to the left. We typically like to loop around, which in this particular video you will not see me do because I wanted to go get Zach Knight up, just I don't know, for fun, something different, to check across the middle and get him and just let him run the sword because, again, it was just easier for me and Strohs to down Crota with our 2 galleys. So I went over to get him while the rest of them looped up right. And the thing about looping up right, why we like to do that, is because it allows us the opportunity to clear all the adds that spawn in, because there's a plethora of thrall that spawn in. And so you go up and get inside there and you just start slaying them. That way when you go, you're set back up, you don't have anything flanking you or sandwiching you from the, your blind sides. Whereas if we just did what I'm doing here and went left without them circling up and around, we would have had the spawns from behind us in this entire corridor area coming to us from behind and sandwiching us in regards to the boomers shooting us already, and then other thrall from the bottom potentially coming up the stairs. So that just allows us an easier setup strat, looping around, and makes things more substantially efficient for our particular strategy. So sword bear's coming up, just throw a couple galleys in them. Crota's almost dead, and so it's not that big of a deal since I was full. Get the sword down as quick as possible so it doesn't rotate, and just so we can get them done and out easier. So you can see here, boom, jumps up, finishes them off, and I finally get a helmet. So as you can kind of hear in the background, my reaction. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.